How's it going, everybody? BP here, looking to break down AWX stock from the recent craziness we've seen and basically the debacle that took place in the last 5 or 6 days. The stock ran from $3 all the way up to about 34, which is pretty insane. The float was supposed to be about 2.3 million, and that's what most people thought, but we were not aware that SureTrader, aka Mint Broker International, had picked up about 1.9 million shares. They basically bought up the float the other day and brought it down to about 300,000. So that's an insanely small float, which is what made this stock capable of moving this much. Now, most people did not know, obviously, except for the insiders, that the float was less than 2.3 million. That's a very tiny float in and of itself, and 300,000 is just insanely low. A stock like that clearly can move in crazy directions. So, but what they did is they bought up the float, brought it down to super tiny, and then it's easy to move. With any kind of buying, you can drive it up crazy because there's hardly any shares. I mean, so Lure Trader bought up the float, and probably they let everybody know, probably had people pumping it behind the scenes, and of course they blasted it up. They set it up to make it look on Friday to make it look like it was kind of done, kind of calm, and then the explosion happened into the close. And a lot of people will run their mouths. A lot of guys that claim to be traders that are probably bartending, and things like that. They might throw in a trade here and there, and they tend to tweet a lot and talk a lot. And I got to tell you that if somebody's tweeting all day and they're talking a lot, they probably don't have time to trade, so they're probably full of it. But a lot of people look back in hindsight, which is always 2020, and say, well, you should have seen this and you should have seen that, and this was obvious and all. It's all baloney. It's all baloney. Nobody knew this was going to jump to $34. Okay, unless you were inside and you knew what was going on. Nobody knew. Nobody had a clue. All right, they purposely set it up. It was a well-designed scheme. They set it up to look like it was dead, and they blew it up into the close on a Friday afternoon when nobody would expect it. Then what they did is they force bought in all the shorts. They sold their shares as they forced them out and made the shorts buy. The retailers that jumped in and were chasing it, they sold to them because they have to sell to strength. The stock itself is total trash, and they know it. It was a waste management company in the back of a golf club shop or something. So the company is pretty much worthless. So clearly they designed it just to blow it up and sell it all. Now, Guy Gentile, the fraudster, the FBI informant that ratted out all his friends, this guy tried to tell Bloomberg that he was trying to make a hostile takeover over this waste management company. I mean, you talk about a joke, this guy. A hostile takeover of a waste management company in the back of it. I mean, give me a break. The guy had no intention of taking over this company or holding this stock. It was all designed to blow it up and sell, leaving, blowing up people's accounts that were short and selling to all these retail traders who are going to come on board, think this thing had real promise, and take advantage of them, leave more bags than Kate Spade or Michael Kors, and basically crush them back down to the $3, pretty much where it was before. Now, my price target on it, I had initially put $3 because that is where I expected it to go. I really thought it was going to go to $3, and I mean, I didn't expect it to run to 34, and I don't think anyone else did who was not inside. So I think that was a shock to everybody. Once I saw the float was 400,000, I knew that it could pop higher after the Friday move, because then we knew the float was 3 or 400K because we saw the Form 3 right here from Mint Broker International. So once we saw this, we knew. But it had already gone to 18 by then, and everybody thought the float was 2.3 million. So, a really, really well-designed scheme. And it's not the only one. Mint Broker's done the same thing with GBR and MTSL recently. So to claim that he was doing a hostile takeover on this, what about those other two? Was he going to take those over, do a hostile takeover on GBR and MTSL as well? No, all three of them were staged and planned. He dumped all of them. Now, here's the question: is being that SureTrader, he owns Mint Broker International, and then SureTrader was his company as well. The question is did he buy up those shares, then lend them out to his own people, and then crush his own clients knowing who was short and then force them out? Now, if he did do that, that is nasty. And I'll tell you right now, I recommend that anybody who's in SureTrader, is a client with them, with this kind of stuff going on, with a guy like this behind it, I highly recommend you close your account and get out of SureTrader, because this is the kind of stuff going on. Not only this, but there's a crazy, huge backstory with this guy Gentile, where he was already busted in the past for pump and dumps. He apparently beat the case on a technicality, but he's still probably guilty. And he became an FBI informant, and then he ratted out all his friends. And then apparently SureTrader was wired up with FBI so they could catch other people. I mean, the whole thing is a freaking circus. It's insane. You just wouldn't believe this stuff. So with all this going on, to think that this guy was going to take over and hold this company is a joke. And to think that they're not, potentially taking advantage of their clients is a joke. I mean, you got to be careful with this kind of situation. So I'm just warning everybody about that. Okay? What else did I want to talk about? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't, they don't necessarily understand how I trade. So when I post things, they'll come back 2 or 3 days later and say, oh, you're right or you're wrong, but they don't understand how I trade. When I trade, I'm a day trader. Sometimes I swing, yes, but mainly I'm a day trader, and I can be in and out of stocks in seconds. So when I post, this is a short opportunity, I might be talking about within like a 10-minute time frame, and then within like a few minutes, it drops, and I'm out. So I tweeted about AWX several times, and if I mention it short, that doesn't mean 2 or 3 days later it's not going to be higher. I'm talking about a quick intraday flips for the most part. Now, I do also swing sometimes. In this case with AWX, I really did believe it was coming back down to 3. I had a high conviction that this was a total fraud, and I saw the company was Waste Management in the back of a golf shop. I mean, I knew there was no way this thing, an $18, $34 price was warranted. It doesn't matter what happened. So, and I always stress to people, because this is very important, that when you have a tiny float like this, you have to be careful. You can set hard stops, and you have to not over leverage. I've written articles about not over leveraging. I stress it in my trading room. I stress it to everybody that I talk to about trading, is that when you have a tiny float under like 10 million, that's the danger zone, and you got to be careful. So, there were some people, out on social media talking baloney, trying to act like, they don't know what's going on in my trading room. They're not a part of it. They don't have enough information, yet they want to run their mouth and make these comments that, I don't, that I'm not, making people aware of that kind of thing. And of course I am. I know how these pump and dumps work. I've been dealing with them a long time. I absolutely recommend a hard stop if you feel it's necessary for you. I personally don't use them. I use mental stops. That's my preference. And not over leveraging is key. On this, a lot of people got crushed, and they blew up accounts. A lot of it is because they were over leveraged. Now, with a move like this, it could get anybody, because no one expected it. No one knew the float was 300K, and anybody looking back in hindsight talking baloney like they knew is full of it. Don't believe them. Okay. So yeah, you got to protect yourself. You got to, number one, have a hard stop if you feel that's necessary for you. Number two, you got to make sure you're not over leveraging your account. Don't be in 50%, 70% of your cash, 25%. That is a nightmare waiting to happen, because if the stock blows against you like this, you're crushed. Keep it like 10, 15% of your cash. Even then, with a stock like this, you could be in trouble. I mean, anybody could be in trouble with this. Now, for me, I wasn't over leveraged. And I was definitely lucky that I was not in too heavy, because I could have been in heavier, could have got me. I was able to weather the storm. and and get through the craziness and hang in till it finally came down. I was starting to feel some pressure. I'm not going to lie. When it was at 34, I was feeling some pressure. I knew it was coming down, but you got to start. You got to worry that the broker loves to come in and force you out. And then when you got someone like SureTrader who bought the shares and has clients that could be short, they can see which of their clients are over leveraged, and they can blow them out, and they're selling their shares to the clients, and they're making them buy. I mean, they can't sell their shares and get out without the retailers being forced out because they're buying to cover to exit, or retailers chasing. If everybody decided tomorrow that we're not gonna buy, they wouldn't have anyone to sell to. But what would happen is the brokers would force you out. So it's a very well designed scheme, probably more intricate than you could ever imagine. With high frequency trading, algos, and everything going on, people don't even know what they're capable of. So, and they're way advanced compared to what some of the regulators and SEC know about. And so who knows what's going on? But that's the bottom line. So always be extra careful anytime you're dealing with a stock of this float. All right, this is a freak of nature, yes. It was a scam, probably, of course. But this is a supernova, and this is all it takes. If you're in too heavy at the wrong time, this is what can get you. Now, some people have a broker like, for example, TradeNet. Okay, TradeNet has these stipulations where you can't cover, or pre-market or after hours, you can't buy or get out. So if a stock's blowing into after hours and you can't exit, you're at the mercy of whatever's going on. You can't do a thing. So different things like this. And if you're heavy, I mean, you shouldn't be over 10-15% of your cash in a trade, especially with a low float. If you do it, like I said, you might get away with it for months and months and months, but then this happens, and boom, it can wipe out all of your hard work. So for anybody to try to act as if I don't, make people aware of this, they just don't know what they're talking about. They just don't have a clue. All right. But yeah, so I held and was able to weather the storm, felt some pressure, was able to get through, and once I saw it come down off that 34 pretty hard, I had a feeling it could drop real fast. And so I ended up getting out at, it was 846. I covered half my position, and then 350 I got out of the rest, which was close to my target of $3. Now, I post all of my entries and exits at the time of entry and exit in the trading room. So if you're a part of my room and you actually know what's going on, you know when I enter and when I exit. But yeah, I mean, and now things are calm out there in the market, and now you got to watch out for the next scam like this to come out and get perpetrated, because it's going to happen. They like to wait for shorts to feel a little bit safe. And of course, they're targeting groups. Technical traders are looking for groups like mine. They know that we like to short. They know that we have a lot of people following and paying attention. They know there's a lot of other technical traders, longs, that want to try to exploit a high short percentage and whatnot. So, we know perfectly well that that's going on. And, that's why sometimes I might hedge a position, and, they and one broker go long, the other be short, but then another broker maybe go long just as some protection. If the stock has options, you could buy calls and puts. But we know that people are trying to target us. Because, see, one thing we do that the BP Rising group does is we give the real. So if you're out there pumping stocks that are trash, then really you're trash as well. I mean, that's the truth. If you're trying to falsely make people believe that a company has real promise when it's total garbage like this, waste management, you're really a fraud too. We are one of the few people that actually give the real story. Now, we're not going to be right every time, of course. And, when you trade, nobody is. The greatest traders are going to be wrong sometimes. The greatest traders are going to have losses sometimes. Okay? It's a matter of probability. It's a matter of winning more than you lose, and a matter of winning bigger than you lose. And over time, it's about being profitable over time. And so that's really all that matters. Okay. And with a stock, with a stock like AWX, you can just assume that something like this is going to, come up again soon, and probably when everyone thinks things are calm. They're going to exploit shorts. They're going to be looking out for those groups, and they're going to come in and they're going to try to squeeze them out. When you have a high short percentage, and I don't know that we knew what this was. I couldn't find the short percentage afloat on AWX, which was convenient, very convenient. I couldn't find that. And my guys in my trading room as well, we couldn't find the short percent afloat. So maybe it was higher than people thought. But they look for the short percent afloat. They look for groups that are really that are shorting, and they look to squeeze them out. I mean, it's smart. It's smart. It's nasty, but it's smart, because when you get a high percent afloat, a stock is squeezable, because if all of a sudden the shorts come in, they got to start buying and buying. I mean, it can drive that thing up, and that's a lot of what happened with AWX. They trapped them, and it was done purposely. I mean, like I said, this was a well-designed scheme. It was definitely set up from the beginning. They trapped the shorts. They blew it up, and they forced them. They had to buy. They forced, and the ones who were stubborn and didn't want to buy, the broker came in and forced them out. So, and during that whole debacle, that's when SureTrader was selling everything, and this guy, Gentile guy, just totally taking advantage. And then once they were out, there was no more reason for the stock to be at 35, because it's a waste management company. It just dumped down back to where it was, and boom, just like that. And there you have it. Okay. So for me, part of it was I was lucky, definitely. Part of it was that I was not in too heavy in the trade in relation to my cash account size. That was the biggest part that saved me. And like I said, hard stops is probably, if it's under 2 million float, you should probably have a hard stop. Bottom line, I personally, a lot of people don't use them. They don't like them for several reasons. You can get stop hunted if you have stops. Sometimes they don't trigger, things like that. So it's your preference, but definitely have your loss threshold in mind. And if it gets to that pressure point, it's better to cut the loss than it is to have something catastrophic happen. All right. I think that's all I have to talk about on this for now. But I'm sure we'll see another one of these soon in the future we can discuss. So next time, be very careful and do your best to avoid the catastrophic supernova. Yeah, that's going to be it, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate all my followers. I really appreciate my members. And I do my best to give people the real. There's so many people out there putting out baloney stuff that's just not true. And I try to tell people what's really happening, and that's rare. So really, people should appreciate it, longs and shorts, because I might help a long to know what's going on and to exit and save them a lot of money. I might help, it's just not happening enough on Wall Street. Not enough people are telling it like it really is. And then when you do that, unfortunately, a lot of people that don't want people knowing how their schemes work, they're going to be mad at you because they don't like that you're telling how it is. So they're going to be angry, and you're going to make enemies. That's just how it is. If you give the real and you expose these schemes, you're going to make a lot of enemies. And then they're going to try to attack you, come back at you, and squeeze you or take advantage, to steal your money. So that's just how it is. But anyway, until the next video, everybody have a great one. As always, join the team, bprising.com. Shoot me an email, bprising1@gmail.com. We can definitely discuss this in more detail. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great one.